back to another Fall Friday where I have for you some of the best fall recipes that are not only delicious, but they are easy and frugal. So if you're ready, let's get cooking. If you're new here, my name is Leah, and I am all about spending less and creating more and showing you how you can do the same in your kitchen as well. Budget-friendly meals do not have to be boring, and I am here to help you out with some new ideas for your meal plan this week. All right, today I'm going to share with you how to make a super easy harvest bowl. And we're calling it harvest because we're going to be using a sweet potato in it. We're also using some nuts. And then my favorite cheese to use on these harvest or grain bowls is a feta cheese that is crumbled up. You can also add some onion, but I'm not a fan of raw onion, so I don't do that in my salad, but that's of course an option. We're also going to use chickpeas, and that is going to be like our main source of protein. A lot of times I just like to do a quick lunch that I can prep ahead of time in my fridge, and sometimes we don't add meat to our lunches. We also have a blend of quinoa and brown rice. It also has garlic flavoring in there as well. Sometimes you can pick these up for 50 cents to $1 at your grocery store on clearance, or you can get a pretty good deal on a big box of these packages at a box store like Sam's Club or Costco. So anyway, got one of those. It's just easy. You could of course just make your own quinoa and brown rice on the stove or whatever, but these are so convenient. Again, we're going with really easy today. And then I'm going to make a super simple vinaigrette, olive oil and your choice of vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar, red wine vinegar, whatever you want. So we're gonna do that. And let's get started. So the first thing I'm doing is just microwaving our sweet potato. I have it in there for 4 minutes total. So once that's done, we're just going to take it out of the skin, and then we're going to move on to the chickpeas. Now these do not have to be cooked at all. They're already cooked because they're in the can. If you're going to go the more frugal route, then go ahead and pick up a bag of dried chickpeas, cook them, then you can go ahead and just drain them and use as much as you want. All right, so now we have our sweet potato completely cooked. The rice is in the microwave, and I'm going to go ahead and just make up our vinaigrette real fast. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of olive oil, I think is all I've got left. We're going to be using 3 parts oil to 1 part vinegar. So since I'm only using 2 tablespoons of oil, I'm going to be using half a tablespoon of vinegar. Making your own salad dressings is definitely a way to save money, and if you put them in a jar like this, you can make them up ahead of time and keep them in your fridge for a couple of weeks. So now our rice is fully cooked. So now we're going to go ahead and chop up our potato. This is one of those really fun dishes that you can just have all of the products or the toppings put out onto the counter, and everyone can just assemble their own. It's one of those like really easily adaptable to other people's dietary preferences. If they're vegan, they don't have to add the cheese. If they, like to have meat, you can of course just keep some chicken out or some other kind of meat ready for them to put onto it. I always find rotisserie chickens to be $1 a pound. Some places are more expensive, but if you can find them for $1 a pound, I would say that's a really great deal. And don't feel bad about buying pre-cooked meat because you're not going to find a better deal even with raw meat. So typically you're going to be spending $1 a pound on a whole chicken, and you're doing the same thing. It's just already cooked for you. So go ahead and pick that up, shred it up, and then have it sitting there to assemble your bowl as well. It's just so easy. So here we have all of our sweet potato. I'm just going to set aside all of the peels. And then we have our bowl. I'm going to put the rice on top of the greens because I want the greens to wilt a little bit. So if I do my greens on the bottom and then I put the brown rice and quinoa on top, then it's going to have all that heat from the rice just getting in there. So we're going to put about a half a cup of the brown rice on top. Again, this is all up to your personal preferences. So we've got the brown rice. I'm going to put the chickpeas, and I don't want all of them. I just want maybe like a quarter cup. So I've got my chickpeas there. I'm going to add some sweet potato. I'm going to add my cheese. And then for the nuts, I'm going to go ahead and give those a quick chop. Another awesome nut to use in this would be pecans or walnuts. I don't happen to have either of those right now. Usually I have pecans on hand, but I am all out, and I didn't want to stop at my local grocery store for pecans because they're so much more expensive than they are at Costco. And I'm not going to Costco this week, so I am just sharing this recipe with you with the nuts I have on hand, and I promise you it's going to be delicious no matter what you choose. So we're just going to put those into the bowl as well, and that is literally all you have to do. It is so easy. I'm going to just go ahead and put some salt on mine, a little bit of pepper, and then I'm going to just drizzle it with my vinaigrette. Let that soak down into the bottom. And there you have it. Such an easy, quick lunch or dinner. Now we're going to move on to our cinnamon apple blondies, which is kind of in between a cake and a brownie consistency. So we're going to use some white and brown sugar, cinnamon, butter, apples, eggs, baking powder, vanilla, and all-purpose flour. We're also going to later be using some milk and powdered sugar for a glaze. But we need to line our baking dish with some parchment paper or butter, and then get 3 medium or 2 large apples peeled and diced. Then we're going to go ahead and cook these on our stove with 2 tablespoons of butter. Go ahead and add the apples along with 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 1 whole teaspoon of cinnamon. The recipe calls for half a teaspoon of cinnamon, but you know I like to double that whenever I'm baking. Also add in half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Stir all of that together and let those apples cook for about 3 to 4 minutes until they're nice and soft. Just make sure that that sugar does not burn at the bottom of the pan. Now that we have our filling done, we're going to start working on the blondie part. We're going to need 1 cup of softened butter. Go ahead and mix that together until it's whipped a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and add in our sugars. We need our white and brown sugar, and of course I have the full recipe listed for you in the description box, so you don't have to write this down as we go along. So go ahead and combine those in, whip them together until it's nice and fluffy, and then we're going to be adding in our eggs one at a time. Then we're going to add in half a teaspoon of vanilla, and then you can do this in a separate bowl, but I just find it's not necessary. I just kind of make a well in the middle of all of the wet ingredient and add in my flour, baking powder, and cinnamon, and get that combined a little bit on the middle, and then I go ahead and combine all of it together. That way I'm not dirtying up another bowl. Once everything is fully combined, we're going to put down half of that batter onto a parchment-lined baking dish, then spread on top of that our cinnamon apples that are cooked, and then put the rest of the blondie batter on top of that. And you're probably going to want to use your hands to spread it around. It is a very thick batter, much more so than regular brownies. So go ahead and bake that as directed until a toothpick comes clean, or if you have a knife, just stick that in there. And then we can move on to our cinnamon icing. Go ahead and combine your sifted powdered sugar with some cinnamon, and then add in a little bit of milk at a time. You can always add more and it goes a very long way, but you can't take it out if you add too much. So once that's fully combined, go ahead and put that on top of your cake or your blondies, and then it's going to cool and set. So once that's all done and it's no longer really wet, you can slice the blondies and they're ready to serve. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that these recipes have inspired you this week and maybe give you something to try in the days to come. So if you do, let me know, and until the next video, I will see you in the comments.